Okay, hello my wonderful audience over there on the other side of the YouTube screen. Today Truth Detective is over here in front of the camera again, and I'm going to be talking to you about neurosis. Do you know the word neurosis? It's related to mental health. And do you know something about neurotic behavior and neurotic thinking? I'm going to say that I believe and I feel and I have deemed and seen, at least in myself and in many other people also, that neurotic behavior starts with neurotic thinking. So if a psychologist wants to reverse neurotic behavior, he has to start with the thinking. That's the basic notion of psychoanalysis. And it works, at least with some people, it works. And we have to kind of separate the line between being neurotic and between being kind of character disordered. At least that's what they do in psychiatry. And if you think about like what neurosis really is, it's the rules of the mind. And those rules starting to play against your own kind of sanity and your own health. You have this rule in your mind that this thing is so evil that you must never do this. You must never do this, even though you want to do it. And that could, for example, be like promiscuous relationships. That could be, acting like a whore, dressing up as a girl, if you're a boy or something like that. You must never do this, And if you have that kind of a strong desire to do this, which is actually kind of, also not truth in itself. It's not truth in itself that you must not do this or that you must do this. The desire actually comes from something else. But the neurosis comes from that desire not fulfilled, If we start like examine your dream life, like what do you see happening over there? We have to understand that when a desire is kind of like pushed under the surface or like said no and no and no again, it doesn't just disappear, The Buddhists, they say that no, if we push the desire like under the surface and at the same time actually like let it come up and we examine it, and inspect it and not act on it, it will at least disappear. And do you know, like the fact that there are so many neurotic, Buddhist, monks, and there are so many neurotic, religious people in general. And you could say that the difference between these individuals and those that, just kind of, live the high life out there or the party life is just that they don't do those behaviors really. And you can say that, well, you can be a homosexual even though you don't have any homosexual relations. Well, can you be a murderer without killing somebody? Can you accuse somebody of murder if he hasn't killed anybody? I don't think so. So we have to also kind of separate, your subconscious mind, like who you are. Is this who you are? Well, it might be who you are, but not on the deepest level. It might not be who you are. And this is where the Buddhists try to go. Like, there's the truth. Go there. Like all of this other stuff, it's just, hogwash, You're not a fag. You're nothing, So, if we think about neurotic behavior next, like what's neurotic behavior? Well, it can seem insanity, Neurosis can even seem like psychosis at some points, but it might not be the same kind of thing. But it just for example, if we have an infant, and at a very young age, we don't feed the infant, and in time, for example, we neglect this child very much. We have to understand that desire, for food kind of goes underground, and if the infant kind of survives, he might have, you know, some problem related to like eating, for example, like overeating. Is that a symptom of a chemical addiction, or is that the symptom of a neurotic, like is that a neurotic behavior, I mean, or like overindulging, you know, in anything like alcohol, or is it a chemical dependence? It's both of those, you know. So when, for example, like a therapist tries to like get somebody off drugs or like this kind of stuff with like really hardcore drugs, the therapist can probably do nothing about that. But with like alcohol, you know, and this kind of like dependencies, you know, he can probably do something about it. And what he can do is he can go to the underground level of that neurotic behavior, that I must never do this. I must drink, you know. I can't like be not drinking, you know. I must do this behavior, otherwise I just can't handle life. And he must go there and look for that, like, what is the real thing that you have to inhibit yourself from doing, you know, like what is the real thing? Is it like related, well, since some literature, you know, they also always say that it's related to sexuality, but I don't think so. I think that there's so much more domains. I feel that it might be related to also these metaphysical realms. You know, that there are some things you don't want to become conscious of, you know, and this might lead you to like not becoming anything like a truth detective or a truth seeker, you know. You just don't want to, you kind of like say that these things don't even exist. We are not gonna even entertain these thoughts. Like, how were your parents? Like, how were your parents? Like when for example, the subject of death came about, you know, in the, like, did you talk about death? Was it like kind of, no, we don't talk about death, you know, we are still alive, we have to live. Like, was that your family style? You know, we must never talk about death, for example. So if you don't talk about it, can it relate it to some neurotic behavior? Can you even get killed by your neurosis this way? You have to understand that your parents were not like omnipotent or very wise, probably even. So, and nobody is that tries to help you in any way in this life. Nobody of those people are either very omnipotent or like very wise. They all have blind spots, you know. So you have to understand that can also like lead to like neurotic behavior. So that's the reason why a therapist wants you to talk about everything, you know. No thing that you want, like you like should be talked about is not like off the limits, you know. You can talk about everything, and it's important because that kind of also opens up, you know, this, you know, neurotic behavior to start how would I say, start repairing itself and start changing itself. So if for example you encounter somebody in your life that really doesn't want to talk about the subject, you have to really understand that is it just that he's not interested in it at all, or is it that it's like a taboo subject for the person, you know, like that's not to be talked about. It might be related to neurosis, but if you think about this, that we have a drug taker over here and a person that really doesn't like drugs, you know, and doesn't want to even talk about them and doesn't want to be dealing with them in any way. Then you can think about how that subject is for the other one, like I have to have this, and the other one is like I must not have this, you know. And of course, like if you think about freedom, for example, like is neurosis kind of like blocking your freedom, you know? and is, for example, some other people's, standards of how you should live, blocking your freedom or making you more neurotic. And the problem, like the huge problem with some people who are very authoritarian is that they say that you have to be a certain way, even though they are not that way at all, and they can fuel your neurosis by that way. And for example, if I say to you that I and you should always obey the law, you must not break the law. This is so crucial. Your life is literally going to end if you break the law. Then if there's some desire that you have that is related to breaking the law, then that desire will of course surface as neurosis. So it's really what you want to do, and it's really what, if, for example, you meet a person that says that I just want to do what I want to do. Just like leave me to do what I want to do. I just need to do what I want to do. And then there's the other person that you must never do this, like saying no, that prohibiting that behavior. Then is that prohibition like based on the truth? We have to understand that nobody wants to drink, nobody wants to take drugs. That's a consequence behavior. Nobody wants to take drugs. You want to feel good. That's what you want. And the reason why you probably can't feel good is just that there are desires, but these desires kind of get masked by the desire to take drugs. So if we think about the civilized society, for example, of course, if you think about, for example, murder, most people have like very deeply subconscious rooted rule in their head that never commit a murder. That's the worst thing you can do. It's in the religions, of course, also. But then you think about the people that committed murder, They are in the prisons, of course. They have the consequences placed on them by the society. But, they broke that, rule that you must never do this. What happened there? It's that this kind of didn't block the behavior from happening. The desire was too strong. The subconscious behavior that I want to do this was too strong for that conscious rule. Because if we think about rules, you don't live in the world of rules when you are asleep. Of course, somebody can murder you actually when you are sleeping. That can happen. Somebody can murder you when you are asleep. A lot of this has happened in the history of mankind. A lot of our dreams are actually related to the things that are threatening to our survival when we are asleep. Snakes, spiders, murder, knives, people stabbing you. That's this kind of stuff. Or getting into traffic accidents. Also, don't you get it? Don't you get it? Dangers, potential dangers. When you wake up, don't go into this situation. That's dangerous, don't go there. So, I hope you understand now your neurotic behavior much better. Thanks for watching.